Good afternoon. The time is now 1 o'clock, and we will call this special meeting of the Oklahoma City Deferred Compensation Board, March 3rd, 2025, to order. The first item of business is to elect a vice chair.
Chair, if I may, I would like to nominate Scott Pope as vice chair.
Got a nominee for Scott Pope. Got a motion and a second. Everyone cast your votes.
Yeah. We need you to vote.
Yes, please.
And it passes. And even though it's only two people who weren't here, so it's unanimous. So congratulations, Scott. Okay, item number 3 is to approve the minutes from the November 20th, 2024 meeting. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
Doug,
And the motion passes. Okay, so item number 4 is going to be a little bit of reading on my part, but we want to just make sure we've got covered everything. So this is a resolution ratifying the actions of the chair in executing the participation agreements and applications for previously selected investment options for the Oklahoma City Deferred Compensation Plans effective December 18th, 2024. And so if you remember correctly, there were a number of the CITs, the collective investment trust that we could participate in, gave us some additional fee savings, but that did require some additional paperwork. And so the items that I signed were the participation agreement for the CIT for Columbia, the participation agreement for the CIT with JP Morgan Chase, commingled pension trust funds, a collective fund custody agreement with Northern Trust S&P 500 Index Fund, an application for the PIMCO Diversified Real Asset Collective Trust, a participation agreement for Collective Trust Pioneer Multi-Sector Fixed Income, a joinder agreement with State Street Global Advisors Trust Company Investment Funds, and the plan application and agreement with the Schwab Personal Choice Retirement Account. And so those were all the ones that we had talked about, every single one of those. This is just ratifying that action. So happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, we would need a motion, yeah.
So what?
Yeah. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. And it passes. Item number 5 is very similar with a little less reading. It's a resolution ratifying the actions of the chair in executing the required plan agreements, trust agreements, and custody agreements for the deferred compensation plans effective December 18th, 2024. This essentially was the update to that. And so we have for all the plans, the Oklahoma City 457 deferred compensation plan, the money purchase plan open, and the money purchase plan closed. Entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second. And the motion passes. Item 6 is items for individual consideration. We do have a couple presentations today. The first is going to be from Voya.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, thank you for having me here today. This is the first time I've gotten to see most of you since the finals presentation. So the first thing I want to say is thank you so much for giving us your business. Gina and team have been outstanding to work with, getting us through this conversion. So we very much look forward to growing this relationship and continuing on for years to come. So do I just scroll? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is just kind of quickly talk about the service team. You know, we had talked in theory about the people that would be working on your team, and now we actually have a team. So I just wanted to introduce the board to them. I did some summary plan activity. First, I just want to say that this deck is not analogous of what I will be presenting going forward on a quarterly basis. Obviously, I had 30 days of data to work with. Our system needs a full quarter to kind of get ramped up and really start pulling some statistical information that is actually, frankly, more exciting than what I'm going to present to you today. But we'll just kind of give you a quick and dirty look at where the plan is right now. Give you some call center statistics, talk about what the Voya education team has been doing. They've been very busy. And then kind of look at some of our communications, what we did as part of the conversion, and then where we're kind of headed in the future. So looking at the service team, first, at one point, I will bring Deltra Hayes. She's the head of government markets. I would love to bring her out here for one of these meetings so that you can all get to meet her. But on a day-to-day basis, we have John McCloskey that's working on your plan, and he works closely with Kirsten Bomir. She is the plan consultant. Kevin Rudman is your dedicated communications consultant. And then Rebecca and Jessica are the backbone to the field and have really been handling a lot of the frontline questions. In addition to that, I had mentioned at the finals presentation that we always kind of have this group of people behind the scenes that you don't necessarily interact with. I know Gina, we got to interact with Jeff DiNicola quite a bit while we were working through all of the contracts. Carmela Blackman, she's the one who handles and sort of runs the call center for your plan. And then John Morrissey, so if there are any other plan changes that we ever want to make in the future, what we normally do is we'd actually bring the same team that did your conversion back. So they already know the plan, there's no learning curve. So that's really what we try to do, is keep everything in line so that it's easier to kind of make changes as we go. Again, so I just wanted to pull in some general plan statistics. So I pulled in the market values for the plan as of January 31st, and I did a quick compare as to where they were in comparison to what we converted in. So for the deferred compensation, the 457 plan, we are sitting about $11 million higher. At $475 million than what we converted in. A good portion of that is due to investment gains and then also contributions coming into the plan. For the money purchase, the open money purchase, we're sitting about $650,000 higher at $15 million. And then for the closed, we're sitting about $750,000 higher at $38 million. Kind of looking, a quick look at the cash flow. So we can see that we have had contributions coming into the plan. There has been quite a bit of outflows through distributions out of the 457 plan, which is not necessarily unusual when we move plans. Terminated folks decide they want to take control of their plan, although they will never get better fees than what you're offering to your participants right now. So, that is something to keep in mind. As far as the open 401A, again, we had contributions coming in, loan repayments, we've had a couple of dividends post, and then similar to the 401A closed plan. I took a quick look at distributions because, again, that's usually something that, we try and track when we first bring a plan over to make sure there aren't huge outflows. If you look at, it looks like there are quite a few full termination distributions. So those are your participants who are terminated from the plan and they took their entire account balance. But if you actually look at the number, there were only 33 participants. So there were some kind of higher balances. The average balance was, the average distribution was $138,000. So that's why the 4.5 million kind of seems high. I also took a look at, so a beneficiary distribution would be a participant who inherited an account from another participant. A hardship would be a unforeseen emergency. Partial termination, again, would be a terminated participant who only took a portion of their account. Obviously, your installment payments, so those are folks that are already set up to receive periodic payments. We had two people that took their minimum distribution already, and then a quadro payment would be somebody who received, is an alternate payee who received a portion of an account based on a divorce decree. Much less activity in the money purchase open plan. Again, we just had partials and full terminations and really just 3 distributions altogether for the month. And then for the money purchase closed plan, again, we had your partials, installments, minimum distributions, and full terms. But again, with the full terms, you had $1.6 million, but it was only really 2 people. So 2 large account balances left. I also took a look at where people are moving their money, and the top heavy hitters were Schwab, PTC Custodian, and Vanguard. So those are the top heavy hitters across the board for where folks are rolling their money over if they're taking it from their account.
And just for clarification's sake, this is, when Charles Schwab was number 1, this is not the other
Brokerage.
Self-directed
No.
brokerage. Okay.
No, they're taking their money outside of the account, outside of the plan, and moving it over to Schwab. Yep. I took a quick look at transfers too, because the other thing we always like to see is where people are moving their money now that we've moved their money for them and kind of changed the fund lineup. So all in all, there was quite a bit of money that came out of fixed account, that William Blair International Fund, and then we had quite a bit of money go into the Northern Trust S&P and the SSGA All Country World. So, people have been moving their money, and this is for the 457 plan. Much less activity on the money purchase open plan. Again, the Russell Small Mid Cap had some activity, and then the Victory Integrity Small had some activity as well. Much less activity in the fixed. And then for the closed, even less activity. So we had the All Country World funds going in there, and then the S&P 500, and then some money coming out of the Vanguard Retire 2025 fund. Any questions on any of those statistics before I move on to the call center? Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Jason, can you come up to the mic when you ask the question?
I'm just curious, the utilization of the target retirement funds that you're currently seeing, how does that compare to other plans that you work with?
I would say it's similar. I mean, especially since they're the default. So I think, we need to take some time really to kind of we need more than a month's worth of data to kind of really get some honest kind of feedback and look at how things are going to be. Because right now I only have a month's worth of, transfers in and out, but I'd be more than happy to, in a quarter or two, we can certainly start tracking that. Okay, just quickly, I wanted to kind of look at the call center statistics. So we had an average speed of answer of 39 seconds. We had 633 calls that were entered, 623 that were accepted. The average handle time is 9 minutes and 22 seconds, so that's a little bit higher than what we'll see once we're in a normal cadence. This is a lot of participants not only needing questions answered, but also assistance with getting logged in and things like that. So once we've gotten into a normal cadence, that average handle time will kind of drop slightly. And then the average talk time is 8 minutes and 6 seconds. The local office. So this has been since live date. So they've hosted 138 group webinar meetings. They've had 32 group in-person meetings, 93 one-on-ones, and handled well over 200 calls. And that's just from live date to the end of January. So we have another whole month of statistics in there since then. Moving on to communication. So as part of the transition, we did an initial announcement postcard that went out in early October. Then we did our transition notice mailing kind of mid-October. We set up a transition website that provided all of the details for your participants so that they could go out and look at that. We provided education presentations. We've done plan enrollment overviews, which were provided as part of enrollment meetings. And then we did another mailing right after the plan went live, just to let participants know that the plan is live and that their balances have been moved over. On an ongoing basis, so We have the participant website, obviously, that's completely, most customizable. We can add links, we can add documents. There's a lot that we can do with that. And normally what we, kind of take participant feedback, things that, they're saying are missing. So if we're getting a lot of phone calls about a particular topic, then I might reach out to Gina and say, hey, we're hearing about X, Y, and Z. Do you think we should put together a quick document on that or add some, a notice or something like that? We have the participant ebook out there, which is just general education and information about the plan. And then we have the enrollment and distribution guides. We have these personalized messages that are really education materials, and so these are available to participants. So when they register their accounts, they're given the opportunity to elect into e-delivery of their statements, their confirms, and then to also receive communication pieces via e-delivery. So that can either be via email or text. And so what we have is we have sort of these general education campaigns that we can send out to these folks who have elected in. So they cover things like America Saves Week, National Retirement Security Month, kind of a year-end check-in, a mid-year check-in, and then a beginning of the year check-in. So just kind of, again, general education. This is not Oklahoma City specific, it's just general retirement education. And really what it is that they're prompts to log into your account is really what we're attempting to do, is to get people to log in and utilize their account. We also have these personalized messaging, so we can also do targeted emails. We have these 7 emails that we can utilize. So if you elect to receive these, every person, if you're signed up for these, will receive the birthday email and then the personalized video as part of their statement process. So those would automatically go out to you. The other ones, we don't want to bombard people with information. So even if you, so for instance, you don't have a beneficiary account, you have all your money in one mutual fund, you shut off your deferrals or you're deferring 1% or something to that effect. We're not going to send you all of those. So they're in a hierarchy, and we'll send you no more than 2 additional emails every year. The one that we really like to have turned on, and again, we'll work with Gina on which ones of these we want to turn on. You don't have to turn on all of these messages. The one that we do like to have turned on is the beneficiary message, just because we really like to get in people's faces, you need to set up a beneficiary. So right now, when you log into your account, if you don't have a beneficiary, you get a pop-up in your face that says you don't have a beneficiary. You'll see that pop up once every 90 days. So we're constantly trying to get people to set up beneficiaries. That's the one thing that is sort of my reason for being, is getting people signed up with their beneficiaries. And then this page just has some sample emails of samples of what the emails actually look like when they get sent out. And again, it's really just kind of driving people to log into their account and take a look. So that's really what that's about. So that was really all I had for today. Are there any questions for me? Are there any questions about the conversion or anything to that effect?
So I appreciate the information on the activity within the plans, that kind of stuff. Is it okay if that would be consolidated so we don't see the 401A closed and open versus,
100%.
and that way it's just one thing that's a little easier to digest?
Absolutely.
For future?
If that works,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Have you had any statistics on what the utilization has been on, like, let's say, the mobile application versus logging in online on the website?
So I will in March. At the end of March, we'll have all of that data. Again, it's a quarterly number that we pull together, so we'll have all of that. We'll have mobile app, web, call center, and then IVR. So we'll be able to provide all that to you with the March data. And I can certainly send it to you sooner. You don't have to wait until May.
Can we get a copy of this presentation sent to us, like maybe through Gina or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to speak on our target date funds. Is our academy, since we've been implemented, we've ran 2 full academy classes. Gets fully got signed up now with Voya, and I would say a huge majority, if not almost 100%, have chosen a target date fund. So it seems to be working at moving in the right place.
That's great.
Any other questions?
All right.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is just a presentation, so there's no action needed on item A. Item B is to receive the quarterly investment performance review from Asset Consulting Group. Jason Poulos is here from
Thank you.
ACG.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to go through the report. I'm not going to go through every page. It is similar to what we previously provided, except it's more condensed now because all the investment options are consistent across the 3 plans with one record keeper. So in terms of what you'll see is dollar amounts and participants, the percentage of the whole. And then I think from an investment standpoint, this is really from a fiduciary responsibility of the board. Your responsibility in a defined contribution or participant-directed plan is to provide a diversified set of options for which participants can build a allocation on their own of low-cost options. We want to try to narrow down redundancies. A lot of the work that we've done over the last really year and a half has been evaluating the multiple plans, the different record keepers, and then the options within those that had blossomed into where you had many different options of the same thing. So tried to narrow it down to one option, active option in growth and value per asset class for those participants that want to build their own portfolio with active management, and then a passive option for those participants that really just want to focus on allocating across asset classes, but doing it in an efficient, low-cost way. And then finally, the target date retirement funds, which you had across the other portfolios. The one thing, the reason why I asked that question is we look at, and this probably, Doug, you probably want us to consolidate these as well, because these are 3 different, we're looking at each plan separately. But you see where assets are across, similar to the page Voya had shown. What we're seeing, we generally see a little bit more in target retirement funds across plans, and that's, it is your qualified default option. So typically for new employees, or maybe those employees that aren't quite as sophisticated, or those employees that aren't making a choice on their own, we want them to be in a diversified option that's going to adjust risk over time according to their age as they grow in their years of service to the city. So we would typically see a little bit more there, and I think that may be something from an education standpoint that the statistics will bear out. What we're really seeing, a significant amount of the assets are in those things that have done the best in the rearview mirror. That's not unsurprising. A significant amount of the assets, certainly in the Voya fixed account B, which was just a transfer over of the stable value from the other 2 providers. That may be going down as you go forward, and rates may not be as good as they were historically. And then the Fidelity Contra Fund, as large cap growth has done the best, really over the last decade and certainly over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of assets flow into that. But again, I think as you're looking at these kind of statistics from a board standpoint and with the administrator and talking about education for participants, just education on diversification and asset allocation will be helpful. The rest of the report, we drill down this performance, and I just want to just give you, on a go-forward basis, there won't be as much for us to talk about every month. We've made a lot of changes implementing this portfolio. That said, our Asset Consulting Group, we will continue to monitor and evaluate all of the managers on the platform on a regular basis. And that goes beyond just looking at quarterly performance. Our team is meeting with active managers on a regular basis, understanding, making sure that they are continuing to do what we expect them to do, making sure that the small cap growth manager is a small cap growth manager. They're not deviating from that path. Evaluating the team, watching to make sure if there's changes in the organization, meaning a portfolio manager leaves, or they have analysts leave, or they reassign responsibilities, that we're understanding in that, and that we're still comfortable with the thesis around them. Those aren't things that are seen in just looking at performance numbers. So that's all going into the evaluation and monitoring of firms, as well as looking at the overall firm, if there's organizational issues, legal issues, regulatory issues that might impact a firm going forward. We're looking at those things as well. So in terms of performance of the funds, I'd say the first few pages is just summary data. As we get into the back of this report, we have a couple pages on each fund option, so where you'll see a little bit more information, just as who they are, what they're doing, assets in the fund, the expense ratio, the benchmark that they should be compared to, the universe, so the peer group universe, Morningstar rating, which we look at. It is a measure. It's not the be-all and end-all. We're doing independent evaluation for you all as well. And then some portfolio characteristics that we see as well to compare. We'll look at risk versus return, calendar year, rolling returns, which I think this is a really important thing to look at. From time to time, we may look at a manager. So for instance, on a one-year basis, the Vanguard Windsor Fund, this is actually a manager of managers. It is an actively managed large cap value fund that utilizes 4 underlying managers. You wouldn't see that if you're just looking at Vanguard Windsor. It's Hotchkiss and Wiley, I believe Dodge and Cox, and I have it here, but my point is we're also evaluating the underlying managers and Vanguard's moves in that portfolio. Performance, we see performance relative to benchmarks, performance relative to peers. This is a peer group ranking, risk and return here. So this particular strategy over the last 5 years, what this is showing, a little bit more return, a little bit more risk. I think that's typical of what we would see. Big years, that when I talk about rolling performance, it's important to understand periods of time when a strategy would outperform and periods of time where they might lag a bit. 2022, where we saw really anything that had a high sensitivity to interest rates was down a lot more. 2023 was a significant bounce back for anything that was sensitive to interest rates. This strategy down a little bit more and up a little bit more. I'd say that's not atypical of some of the other portfolios in the lineup. Another one just to point out on the small cap side is Loomis Small Cap Growth. SMID Cap Growth, this is an option that is in the portfolio. It is a actively managed small to mid cap growth fund. In the prior Nationwide and Mission Squared, there was many more options here. You had multiple small cap growth funds. You had a few mid cap growth funds trying to consolidate and make this more efficient. We're utilizing one strategy. It is small to mid cap in focus. This strategy historically has tended to invest in very high quality companies relative to growth benchmarks. It tends to be a little bit more protective in down markets, not necessarily capturing as much of the upside, something to keep in mind. So as we look at this on a 5-year basis, the return, which is they are the blue box, higher than the benchmark, a little bit lower than peers, but with less risk. We also look at some other statistics here, up and down capture. This is consistent with what we would expect from this manager. They're capturing about 85% of the upside, but only 83% of the downside. So when markets sell off, a little bit more conservative, and they're going to be down a little bit less. And I point these things out because a lot more goes into coming up with options that you have in the portfolio than just what's the best looking backward. I mean, I know that if we're constantly looking at what's the best looking backward, you'd be constantly making changes. We want to make sure we have quality managers in here that have a disciplined, repeatable process, reasonable fees, stable team, stable firm. So this, just trying to highlight some of the things in the report. At this point, we've done a lot of work the last couple years to get to this point. We will continue to monitor and make changes where appropriate, or if there are holes in the options for the participant-directed choices, we'll evaluate that and make recommendations or take your direction to bring recommendations back for areas that may not be covered.
All right, any questions? Report today? Well, thank you, Jason, for your information and being here today. We do need to receive this report, so we can entertain a motion.
Guess I went to sleep.
And the motion passes. Or it's who we received the report. Okay, item number 7, comments from boards, staff, and citizens. Anyone on the board have any comments today?
I'd like to entertain the idea of the board looking and investigating into the Roth IRA as like a 457 Roth IRA. I'm not expert on that subject, but I think I would ask our representatives, our experts here, if they want to give a very brief, what is a Roth, and then give us some ideas what it would take to get there.
This is not necessarily our area of emphasis. This is more of a plan design and IRS and tax issues, but just basically a Roth 401k, much like a Roth 401, or a Roth 401k, like a Roth IRA, allows the participant to contribute after-tax dollars into their retirement account, which that money grows really tax-free going forward. And when you take out withdrawals when you're retired, those monies come out without paying taxes on it. So there is a benefit, more of a benefit on the back end. It doesn't reduce your income on the front end to lower your current taxable income today, like contributions to a traditional 401k. If you're making $50,000 a year and you're putting $4,000 into your traditional 401k, that's reducing your taxable income this year by $4,000. You pay taxes on the withdrawal of that when you retire based on your rate at that time. So it's just a difference. And there's some other provisions related to that. I do think it's a fairly common provision as with respect to Secure 2.0 and any tax issues or legal issues surrounding how you incorporate that into your plan. I'm not the person to address that.
And that was the other thing I was going to say, is that there is a provision in Secure 2.0 that would require a Roth catch-up beginning in 2026. The unfortunate thing is that the Treasury guidance is not yet published yet. And so with our council with that, it should be by the spring, but we're still a little bit up in the air of not knowing what to do, because I think that the council is maybe hesitant to make the moves too quickly and then find out that Treasury has us treat it some other way. But I do think that sometime, especially for our next meeting, that we can have a little bit more information. Gina?
That is correct. We have started some preliminary review of the Roth IRAs. We do have it put in the plan documents for January of 2026, knowing that the Secure 2.0 was coming. Any changes prior to that would require the plan documents to be amended to add an effective date prior. But we are starting some system work as well so that we would be ready to accept it within the Oracle system and the payroll deductions. So there's some background work that has started to look at the Roth IRAs. It's just not where we've been ready to implement quite yet.
All right, does that answer your question then, Ralph?
So I'm assuming we're waiting for the report to come out of the direction.
Yeah, the guidance, we'll
The
need to wait
guidance?
for that to come
Okay.
out. Yeah. Any other comments? I would like to say personally that, so I get copied on quite a few emails, but I just can't say enough about the amount of work the retirement system office has put in. So for Gina and Angel and Mike and Mary Ellen, the significant amount of information. I will even say that we have retirees that know Angel by name with the amount of times that she has talked to them, but always trying to do it with patience. One thing we've learned with a turnover of this size of 5,000, there are hiccups that happen, and so it seems like they've moved and gotten a lot of those taken care of, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. So I was just going to say good job to the retirement system office.
On that same topic, Voya rep, our local rep, Rebecca, seems to be doing well. We have set up a visit at each briefing station in our headquarters, and she's fulfilled all those. She has booked out completely every single one of those. She didn't have any times left, and we're looking for some more visits in the future. But my people seem to be more willing now to transition to more of that telephone call or a virtual visit, which is kind of the way she wanted to move, as opposed to having a line of employees out the door waiting for next in line, and it's been kind of a hard process, but this first round seemed to have went really well, and I haven't received any negative feedback from those visits.
I have a quick question. Gina, whenever I'd asked you a while back about the final statements from Mission Square, did anything ever happen on that?
We had been in contact with Mission Square, and we have asked for paper copies to be mailed. At this point, I have not seen any paper copies. They have locked down the website primarily for anybody who has a zero account balance, but we have heard that those accounts are still open for some of those that had the put options where they can still see balances, but we had asked everything to be closed. So we're still working closely with Mission Square, trying to reach out and see what we can do.
If we don't have any other comments, we are adjourned at 1:38 p.m.